Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA, and this is going to be my UFC 221 recap where I'm going to break down in depth the main event. Yoelito Romero. Yes, you got to say it with that sauce, that raw sauce on there because of what he did to Luke Rockhold. So I'm going to be talking about that, breaking that down, and I'm going to be talking about the co-main event, Curtis Blaydes versus Mark Hunt. And I'm going to be talking about other fights on the card where I feel like the winners of those fights could really be big players in their division in the future. So I'll break down that in more detail when I get to it. And real quick, off rip, I want to shout out the homie ARXV The Plug, AR15. If you fuck with hip-hop and hip-hop commentary, I'm telling you, watch my man's videos, because AR15, he has incredible videos that I fuck with real heavy, and I'm pretty sure he has another channel where and real quick, like, he is incredibly dope with like videography and video editing and photography and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure he has another channel about photography and stuff like that. So go check out his stuff, because I guarantee you're not going to be disappointed. But he actually asked me what I thought about it right as I was about to record this video. So shout out to ARXV. Go check out his stuff. Most definitely, you won't be disappointed. I'm telling you, it's real dope. And it's coming from me, so you could trust that. And yeah, so right on into it, man. The motherfucking main event of the night of UFC 221. Again, gotta say all saucy. Gotta say with that raw sauce. Yoelito Romero fucked up Luke Rockhold. Not in the exact sequence that I thought he did. Not the jab overhand. Not that sequence, but he fucked him up exactly how I thought he was gonna do to him. Like, pretty much in the round that I thought he was gonna do it. Well, I was gonna hope he was doing it. Like, before the fight started, I was hoping, and I'm gonna be honest, full disclosure, all that shit Luke was talking beforehand. Keep in mind that dry shit. When Luke talks shit, it's that chalky white dog shit. Because it's dry. Luke is dry. Like, his personality, his shit talk, just everything is cotton mouth dry, my man. And when he was talking all that shit to Yoel, and like the language barrier and all that. But anyway, before I even get into all that, so like that shit wasn't phasing Yoel. But I was like, all right. Because Luke was saying, he was like, oh, it's gonna be, Robert Whittaker won his belt off Yoel, so I'm gonna win my belt off Yoel, so it's gonna be who finishes Yoel better, or who did a better job. And I'm like, yo, my man is so arrogant all the time. He overlooks everyone, and it's fine if you're arrogant, and it's not fine if you overlook people. Because the problem when you start overlooking people, fuck being general. The problem when Luke Rockhold overlooks someone, they fuck him up. And like, after Bisping, he never learned his lesson. That's the fucked up thing about it. After Bisping, Luke never learned his lesson. And it's like, how do you not learn a lesson after that? And at the time, it was kind of rightfully so, it was short notice. You already pretty much finished Bisping twice in one fight. You pretty much knocked him out and one-arm guillotined him. So I could understand you going in there like it's going to be light work. I could get that. And at the time, he was really feeling himself. He's like, I'm going to be the new Anderson Silva. And instead of saying that in the sense of being dominant, he's like, I'm going to change my style to where I drop my hands. Okay, my guy, if you're going to change your style to Anderson Silva, it's not just dropping your hands. You have to be incredible at making reads. The only reason Anderson Silva could drop his hands is because he was so confident in his ability to make reads and react accordingly, which we saw through most of his career until he met my guy, Chris Weidman, which brings me to the point of I did not want Luke to last longer than my guy Chris did with Yoel. Pause. But I did not want Luke making it out of the third round. That was just like my thoughts before the fight even happened, before fight night, like kind of when it was announced. I was like, you know what? I kind of want Yoel to win, and I don't want Luke to go past the third. And then let's hit fight night. As I was watching the fight, here we go. Right into the breakdown. Now I'm going to get into the breakdown. So we all knew as it was playing out, it was kind of a slow chess match at first. It was back and forth. It was that tennis kind of. It wasn't the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson Woodley 2 fight, but it was in the sense of they were kind of very tentative and respectful of each other. But the difference was there was action, and it was technically sound, and it paid off. And I'll say that from the fan perspective, because as you're watching it, you know both these guys are dangerous, and anything can happen at any moment, and you don't know because you could get a devastating finish, and it's satisfying because you did get that in the end. Now back to what I was saying before. As Luke was going, you know, he was doing good. He was keeping. At first, it was the feeling out process. You know, feel each other out, kind of play with the ranges. Luke was being real effective with that leg kick. Yoel was getting some leg kicks off, but Luke was pretty safe in that leg kicking range, kind of going to the body. And Yoel, he was real on point when it comes to his mindset and being like in the moment, like in the fight, because he was parrying a lot of stuff. Like a lot of stuff Luke was throwing, he was parrying, and he, as unorthodox as Yoel was being with his striking, he was being very smart about the range. More than anything, I feel like Yoel won the fight because he was dominant in dictating the range and keeping the range in where he was successful and where he needed to be. And I'll tell you the exact moment where everything changed. So for a while it was going good. Not much happening in the first round, back and forth, feeling out. Lots of leg kicks, lots of jabs, and so on and so forth. For a while in the first round, Luke was staying very fundamental. He was staying very focused and fundamental. All right, I'm going to keep my hands up. I'm going to stick and move. I'm going to hit him with the jab. I'm going to keep hitting him with the jab. The problem was, after a while, dude, it's perfect. It's beautiful when someone has a nice jab and they work it, you know? It's cool to work your jab, but in my personal opinion, I think it's pointless to not work off of your jab. You know, that's what Luke was doing. I shouldn't say pointless, because if you work your jab, you could keep someone off of you. So it's not pointless, but besides keeping someone away from you, it's not much more effective past that. So it's like, Luke, all right, you're sticking, you're moving, you're keeping him you're keeping Yoel away from you. You're keeping him at range with your leg kicks, and you're keeping him, you know, you kind of like not stunning him, but messing up his rhythm, messing up his beats with your jabs. So he kept doing that, and then come the second round, and I was texting the homie MMA from the Heartland during the fight. So I was texting him I was texting him something like, yeah, just what I thought in between rounds. And then I was thinking as I was texting him, like, wouldn't it be funny if, like, because I didn't want to, like, I started texting as the round, it was in between round, but then the round already started. I wasn't done texting. I was like, oh, fuck, I hope I don't miss anything while I'm sending out this text. And then as I'm thinking that, I literally hear, oh, and then I look up and then I see Yoel Romero blitzing in on Rockhold and landing on him, and it looked real reminiscent of David Branch. And go back and listen to I don't know, my past few videos whenever I've talked about it. I was saying, man, like, Luke has fundamental holes in his game, and once Yoel blitzed in, I'll call it David Branch style, and was swinging those hooks, and this is the thing, Luke fucking tries when he's getting hit like that. All he does is move back in a linear motion, straight back to the cage, and once he hits the cage, he tries to tie clinch, and when he's tie clinching, his opponents are throwing wild hooks at him and hitting him. Because if you think about it, if you're pulling their neck, like pulling on their neck, pulling their head down, that's not going to stop them from fucking winging their hooks. So he's doing that. He's getting rocked. And the problem and the reason why he's getting rocked is if he's going to totally neutralize any attacks, instead of going with a tie clinch, he needs to go for double underhooks. That's the thing. Because once you hit those double underhooks, you have all the control and the distance is closed. So and they can't substantially strike you at all. So instead of double underhooks, he's hitting the tie clinch, which is alright. That's fucking stupid, and that's why you're getting clipped up. That's if you're gonna kind of be in the same place, up against the cage. He didn't hit. Oh shit, my bad. I was fucking miming double underhooks and I fucking uppercut my pop filter. So he didn't dig in for those double underhooks and then switch the position and get Yoel up against the cage. That'd be the solution for that. Or when Yoel is blitzing in, all you have to do is cut angles left or right. All you have to do is just move off of the center line and angle completely off. Just circle all the fuck away. Bro, even do the Alistair Overeem, the economical Overeem, the McGregor and the Nate Diaz too, the Gustafsson, the straight up turn your back and dip and fucking run. Ran off on the plug twice. Just straight run off on the opponent. Luke could have done that. That would be more understandable and more acceptable than when you're getting fucking blitzed in and clipped up, hitting your back up against the fence and just going for a tie clinch. So when that happened, I was like, okay, Luke hasn't drilled or worked on drilling into his system neutralizing tactics. When you're clipped, what do you do? He hasn't been working on that enough, because when the going gets tough, he just kind of like, that's straight instinctual in that moment. And you're not going to, like, the thing is, you're not going to think, oh, I need a double underhook because of this and this and this. When you're in the practice room, you got to make sure, when you got to have the people throwing heat at you to put you in that situation where you have to do that. A good kind of comparison of what the right thing to do in that situation was Chris Weidman versus Vitor Belfort in their title bout. When you look at when Vitor came in, straight Vitor style, if you kind of break down the essentials, if you're going to just go off of descriptive terms, if you describe Vitor and if you describe Yoel, you could use a lot of similar terms, the same terms. You could be like, they're explosive, they have explosive blitzes, you know what I mean? And, they're quick, they're dangerous in the pocket, so on and so forth. So when Vitor came in, what did Chris do? He did back up, because the way Vitor blitzed in on him, he didn't have that kind of option to really circle off. He went back to the cage and he didn't when the shots were raining down on him, he didn't say, "Oh shit, I need to grab on for dear life to something to stop this." He said, "All right, the storm is coming. Let me cover up. Let me cover up and roll with let me roll with the shots. Let me cover up, roll with the shots, and then get out of here." And then what did he do? Covered up, rolled with the shots, dipped out of there, and then fucking beat Vitor's ass down and finished him right after that. So, and Vitor didn't blitz in like Yoel blitzed in, because Yoel blitzed in like his blitz drove Luke pretty much all the way across the octagon, where instead of moving straight all the way across, you could have been circling and changing your angles and cutting your angles and throwing Yoel off. And once you cut those angles too, Yoel is throwing from such wild angles, he could really only land linear, straight in front of him. Whatever is off the center, whatever is on the center line, the wild angle he's winging from, it could only be accurate if it's coming into that, unless you happen to run into it otherwise. But if you're on the center line, that's where it's aiming to go. So that was a big, big problem. Once that happened, and once he ate all those shits and got away from there, you saw Luke change. And here's the problem about Luke. When he gets tagged, when he gets in trouble, he doesn't focus on keeping his fundamentals up. As soon as that blitz happened, what happened to Luke? I'll explain to you what happened to Luke as soon as that happened. In the first round, he had both hands up, nice and high. And although he wasn't doing much with that jab, he was working that jab nice with his hands straight up and technically shooting that jab nice. As soon as he got blitzed, boom, that lead right hand is down. And what he likes to do with that lead right hand, he has it down and he like swings it back and forth, like left and right. You know what I mean? Like he keeps that right hand down, and he has it swinging, and he has, like it kind of stands, and then his left hand goes real low. And it's like, bro, what are you doing? But that's just because he's so like, oh fuck, like I can't get caught, I can't get fucked by Yoel. And that's how he starts behaving on like a defensive, fearful manner. Except it's not defensive in the technical terms where he's like, all right, now I gotta focus on evasion. It's more like tamer, you know what I mean? Like kind of like he's like, oh fuck, like he's punking out almost. Like he's not the one working that jab anymore. And the thing is, now he's just kind of like, all right, I gotta shoot and react. You know what I mean? Like when Yoel shoots something, I have to move back and I have to wing this right hook counter. That's what he was looking to do. He was like, all right. That's why his hand was in that stand. His right hand was kind of like swinging like that. So he's like, all right, so I could come up and then come over with the right hook when Yoel starts, even if like Yoel comes with a jab or something like that, or he goes for an overhand or anything like that. He wants to swing that counter. And that's his thing that I don't know why he feels more comfortable like that, because that is his weak point. You know what I mean? Like when you're in trouble and you go to a certain thing, like just to touch on it real quick, Curtis Blaydes, Mark Hunt. Curtis Blaydes got clipped the fuck up. He went to his thing of wrestling. Like, I'm just going to hold you down. Fuck it. But Luke, it's like when he gets tagged, he's like, oh, I'm going to go to my thing. But the thing he goes to when he gets hurt is a fucking great value brand version of Anderson Silva. I can't even say a great value brand version, because you know what? Like, at least the ingredients would be pretty similar. You know, if a off-brand version, store brand version versus name brand, at least they might use some of the same shit. This is like a Chinatown Canal Street ripoff, because it's like, all right, like it's trying to look like it, but this shit is like fake as fuck and doesn't even work right. You know what I mean? Like Anderson Silva, like I said, Anderson Silva was bomb at making his reads. He's like, all right, I see this coming. And not only that, it's not like just he can make reads, but he could make reads and react off those reads in a real timely manner. But not only that, he has evasive systems already created off of those reads. So he makes a read and he's like, all right, I go to system 1, bob left, right, weave, duck, dot. You know what I mean? Because when you build defensive system, and when you start building defensive systems and evasive systems, the way your motion is gonna be is like you're figuring, you're gonna be moving, keeping in mind what your opponent's throwing. So you know what I mean? You're gonna be moving in according to, all right, they're throwing a left, so I'm moving right, left, duck under like this. So like in an uppercut you have to move back. So you have different movements for different reactions, and you take in those variables and then you mix in your systems and you create your fucking systems. Anderson Silva systems were foolproof for the longest. The thing is, it's not that deep when it comes to Luke. Because what Luke wants to do, or what he thinks, you see, he doesn't think Anderson Silva has this whole formulaic shit. You just think Anderson Silva, because it has to be, he thinks this is the way, because this is what he's fucking doing. He keeps his hands down, thinking that, I don't know, the reason's gonna be he's baiting them, or I don't know what his honestly, I know it's Luke Rockhold, so he's like, he wants to put that sauce on there. You know what I mean? He wants to make it a saucy statement. You feel me? Like he like that one-arm guillotine with Bisping. My guy did not have to switch to mount, post with his right arm, and then straight arches back to one-arm guillotine Bisping. He easily could have gripped up and choked him out. He want to put that sauce on there. So his thing is he wants to get all saucy when it comes to him getting tagged up. But it doesn't work that way. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna be all saucy looking, and he's gonna try to, oh, I see him move, I'm gonna throw this. Like, all right. And his thing is he's not going to assist him. Because Anderson Silva was like, all right, he doesn't, once he makes a read, he doesn't have to read everything what's coming next. He's like, all right, I'm going to read this, then go to this system. Because his evasive systems could create angles and distance. So he could angle off and be out of harm's way so he could fire off his own shit. Luke is trying to wing it, make the read all off all on the fly. He's trying to be like, oh, well, left hand's coming. I'm going to duck this, move this way, and counter. No, that's not going to work. You don't have that time to think that. That's why it's not that Luke Rockhold is a slow fighter. It's just it takes a little bit of time to process that, and that's just time you're not going to have in the moment of a fight. You know what I mean? Shit happens so fast in a fight. You'll be lucky if you're seeing what's coming at you. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, honestly, sometimes in a fight, you'll feel something and you're like, all right, I really don't even know what just hit me right now. Like, I felt it. Like, I know I got punched. Like, I felt it. But, like, and with the adrenaline, you don't really feel it. It's like this weird feeling, like a numbing feeling. Like, you know you got touched, but it doesn't hurt. But you're like, all right, yeah, I know I got touched. I know I got hit, but I didn't even see what that was. You know what I mean? So there are those moments, and it's really that fast. So you're not going to have that time to do all that. And Luke is reacting, not making reads. You know, because if Luke was making reads, you would see when in that chess match, if Luke was making reads in that chess match, you would have seen a lot more head movement and you would have seen a lot more angling off. And what I mean by that is if Yoel, you know, during their feeling out process, as Yoel is feinting and throwing his feints, Luke naturally, because you're in the process of learning your opponent, feeling them out, making your reads, you would have had to start at least kind of jerk to like, all right, evasive system 1. You know what I mean? Like, all right, abort. I don't have to go to it. He's not throwing anything. But you would have seen when Yoel was throwing those fakes and feints, you would have seen Luke react react a little bit and then stop himself. You would have seen those things if he was making reads, but you didn't see that and he wasn't. And that wouldn't be that big of a problem if he's not currently, this is after you got tagged in the second, if he's currently in a state where it's fully dependent on surviving, it's fully dependent on making reads. And when it just came to that, he went straight into boxing range and stayed in boxing range. What the fuck, man? What the fuck, man? How is Luke a motherfucking how is your strengths your kicks and keeping people at range with your kicks and your long kicks, and your strengths in those kicks and in kicking range is not only that, but you hit them at every level. You could eventually it's bound for a knockout to happen, because if you keep kicking someone to the legs, to the liver, to the body, to the head, and just mixing it all up, so every time you go to throw a kick, they don't know whether to lift their knee up to check it, drop their hands down to protect the body, bring both hands up to block a kick. They don't know. So you could easily trick them and boom, like Johnny Bones Jones versus DC. So how is a guy that his strength is in that skill set, yet my guys with his lead hand down, standing in boxing range. Like, what it does? I'm baffled by it, and the reason I'm baffled by it is how, when someone is hurt and they rely on their instinct, how is their instinct a fabricated egotistical state? And what I mean by that is, when someone's in trouble and they just straight go to instinct, they're humbled in the sense of, I mean, I can't be considerate on pleasing the crowd. I need to survive. Like a fucking DC versus Anderson Silva, where he's just holding him down. Like a Curtis Blaydes Mark Hunt. But how's Luke gonna just go to this shit where he's just in boxing range and he's not putting any pressure forward? He's not even being the first to act. You're in that boxing range, yet you're not utilizing your jab as well. But then I believe he starts going back to working off that jab, but it's not as fun. No, I'm gonna rewind that shit. Not working off of that jab, because he didn't work off of it. Otherwise, he would have had more success. He was just working that jab and moving, circling one way, not mixing stuff up, getting very predictable. You know what I mean? There's not much more in there's no game plan there to be executed, that it seemed like. And the reason I'm saying that is, like, if your thing is just to stick and move for the first 3-4 rounds and just gas him, then do that. But don't it just like seemed like he was going in there the whole time trying to feel him out and just fight him without any goal to work towards. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm gonna blitz in, and then I'm gonna clinch him on the fence and try to get him down and work him on, and then try and mount him, because that's my strength, is when I mount people. And there's none of that. It's just like he was just going out there to be like something he's not, which is problematic. So as the fight was going on, and as the second round was going on, it was still more like uneventful, but things happening. The range, the feeling out and the ranges being played with. But second round is where it just kind of just stuck in boxing range, and Yoel was getting his shit off. Because before, in the first round, like, it was more Luke was kind of getting his jabs off and his leg kicks off. And second round, Yoel was parrying a lot of Luke's stuff, hitting him with a lot of unorthodox stuff, like a hammer fist to the lead leg. That shit is wild. Like, who the fuck does that? Like, who the fuck throws a hammer fist, like, right, like, to the lead leg right above someone's knee? You know what I mean? That's just like some weird, wild shit. Like, that's Yoel Romero for you. And not only all right, so let me continue, and then I'll get to what I was going to say. So as that round was going on, Yoel was in the boxing range, and because Yoel was pressuring forward and throwing from weird angles, and Luke was staying on the center line, he was landing on Luke. Had a lot more success in that second round. And I was texting my man MMA from the Heartland, and I texted him, and I told him about, like, Luke's hand being down and shit like that, and like how he changed after he got blitzed. I'm like, man, like, his hand's down. I'm pretty sure this is the round he's going to get knocked out in. And this is the second going into the third. I was like, not only like beforehand because the reason I said earlier, I didn't want him getting past the third, but going into the third, I was like, all right, the hole in his game is so big at this point. Like I made that metaphor before when you got like a hole in a cloth or something like that, and it's tiny and it starts pulling and it could rip, and a little pin-sized hole could get gigantic. I feel like the hole at this point in the fight was pulled so big that I was like, all right, there's no way it's making it out of this round without the cloth being ripped in fucking half, because the hole was just too big. It's like, all right, the odds are it's more likely he's gonna get knocked out than he's not going to. Tactically, from a technical eye, that's what I was seeing going into the third round. Like MMA from the Heartland. He after Yoel knocked him out, he texted me. He's like, "Dude, you called it." I was like, "Yeah, man." Like from the technical eye, man. Just going into that third round, I'm like, it is impossible for Luke to make it out of this round because of how he was performing in that second round. And then boom, like a minute and a half in, Yoelito hits him with that jab, wow, boom, that overhand left, that motherfucking Cuban Missile Crisis to the dome piece. And here's why Luke dropped the way he dropped when Yoel threw that. Luke got clipped, like ate that jab, right? And this is the problem with what I was just talking about in depth before, about him reacting, not making reads. So he gets hit with that jab. Got doubled up on that jab. So he's like, oh, I'm going to counter. But the thing is, it took a while for it to register, because when the time he wanted to throw that counter would have been in between the first and second jab. It's like, boom, he got touched with that first, because the jab's coming is going to be tap, tap. Like, it's going to boom with the overhand. So it should be, so that 1-1, 2. So you got to go 1 boom, and then you got to disrupt that count with that 1 boom. It's going to be, as soon as you get like touched, your shit should already be connecting on them. Like, as soon as their knuckle touches you, your shit should already have been thrown and is already connecting with them. You know what I mean? Because you're not reacting to after you get hit with it. You're throwing the counter as you made the read, because you saw their shoulder jerk as they were about to jab. So that's the problem right there. He wanted to counter. He wanted to swing with his low ass right hand, his lead low ass right hand. He wanted to swing that right hook counter and knock Yoel out. Because if you think about it, if it happened when it should have happened, timing wise, like Yoel hits him with that in the sequence of the double jab, hits him with that one jab, and then he's like going like cock back a little and then going to touch him with that other jab, and as he's extended, that right hook would come over and then boom, catch him in the temple, right behind the ear, wherever. And with that power generated, and with like it being a counter and him not expecting it, you could have rocked this shit. But Luke being Luke and being in that whatever, that weird ass cocky state, gets hit with that jab already. So he gets hit with that, he gets touched with that jab, and as soon as he realizes it's already late, he already got hit with that second jab. So he got touched, and then he's winging over that right hook. But it's already too late, my guy, because Yoel's Cuban missile is already in the sky, and that looping overhand is already in the air. It's already looped off, you know what I mean? And that shit is coming down. And as Luke is still swinging his hook, Yoel lands that overhand. And think about it. Luke should have hit Yoel with that counter right off of the first jab. But the arm is still swinging and like going to hit the target. Luke's right hook I'm talking about is still going to hit the right target as the overhand left from Yoel is connecting still. So Yoel got off his whole combination before Luke could really even react to his jab. And that's the thing, because think about it. A combination is a system. You don't have to think about it, because it's just 1, 1, 2. Bap, bap, bap. So Luke didn't have an evasive system. So when it's like 1, 1, 2, he was like 1, 1. Oh, I'm throwing something. Bop. Too late, motherfucker. Ain't no time for that in the octagon. You will be gone, bro. And then the icing on the cake for Yoelito. Grabbed him on his head. Like Luke was his bitch. Like Yoel was getting some dome. Grabbed Luke on the top of the head. And then came in and swung and just knocked him right on the jaw and put him all the way the fuck out. All the way the fuck out. Like, and it's not coincidence that looks eerily similar to the Bisping knockout. And it's the exact same thing. When I go back to Luke never learned his fucking lesson. In the Bisping knockout, he had that lead right hand low, swinging that shit like he does. Bisping came over with a big ass left hook, rocked him. Luke hits the deck, pops back up, keeps moving back linear. Doesn't cut any fucking angles. Get back. Guess what, motherfucker? You go straight back, you're going to hit the fence. When you cut angles, you could go without hitting anything for the entire time you're in there. But if you're just moving straight back, you're going to hit a wall, obviously. So he goes back, hits the wall. Bisping comes in linearly. And then just wings another left hook and fucks him up against the fence. And the fact that he didn't change anything because it's the same problems in his game that bring him into situations where he loses the fight. And it's of recent, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of... He didn't always have these holes in his game. You know what I mean? It's after he won the belt, he decided to change shit up. Because when it came to his rise, he stayed in his fucking lane. He stayed to his kickboxing range, working off of his kicks. You know what I mean? And working off of those different levels. And he stuck what got him there. And then when he got to the belt and he was just like feeling himself, he's like, you know what, I'm the new Anderson Silva. I'm gonna be doing all this shit like that no one's seen, and I'm untouchable. And it's dope to have that mindset if you have the skill set to back it up. A mindset is cool, but a mindset without a skill set, there's no money in that bank account. The mindset is the bank account. You know what I'm saying? The mindset is your Chase Bank. Your skill set and the work you put in is the currency. If you have a bank account, it's cool, but you can't charge it on an empty card. So when it comes to Luke being in that state, it's a broke account, man. You're charging shit to an empty card. Now, I know this video, I was talking in depth a lot about Luke and a lot of his downfalls, because essentially that's like really what got him laid out the way he was laid out. But that's not taken away from young Yoelito Romero, again saying it all saucy. There's no taking away from the adjustments he made. And here's what happened. In the Whitaker fight, Romero was coming in hard, coming in pressuring a lot. Putting that forward pressure and ready to explode, and kind of setting off those explosions a lot. You know what I mean? Like someone like a minefield. You know what I mean? One sets it off, and a bunch of it. You have one set off, it sets off a bunch. So like in the Whitaker fight, he was kind of doing like a minefield of like just forward pressure and explosion, and trying to do that, and like the takedowns, and getting takedowns, and Robert coming back up, and then working that, and coming in the championship rounds and all that, coming in the championship rounds after putting in such a high pressure with those explosions in there, with the hopes that you would catch Robert Whitaker, but you didn't, and you're already in the championship round, so your gas tank was a bit depleted, because essentially Yoel's confidence and his explosiveness kind of cost him the fight, because he was so confident he would catch Robert in his like in one of those blitzes or explosions, because he usually catches everyone in it. He thought he would catch. He was so confident he'd catch him in it within those 3 rounds that he allotted and is conditioned to operate at that pace out for. He's like, all right, I could operate like this fully fine, no problem, catch anybody at anyone, anytime for 3 rounds. Like, I could be the most dangerous motherfucker in the entire universe for 3 rounds. Like, you gotta shit your pants in there with me for 3 rounds. But after that, I don't have the energy to. I don't have that energy to sustain that pressure and that explosiveness and that pace, which kind of gave Robert Whitaker room to edge out and be more dominant and get off his shit a little more, and win like the essential round that he needed to get the decision. So what Yoel did and the adjustments he made is, I'm going to be a lot more patient, and instead of even because Yoel has those pressuring moments where he's coming forward with pressure, and then his explosiveness, but then he also has those times where he kind of lulls you, like lulls in a slow pace and then explodes, like tries to catch you off guard with it. So what he was doing is like, all right, I'm gonna keep a low pace. I'm gonna see what he's bringing to the table. I'm gonna keep it nice and easy. Be relaxed. Really make reads. Yoel was the one making the reads, which is why he was more successful. You know how Yoel? You know how you could tell Yoel was the one making reads? Because when Luke was throwing a lot, like when Luke was throwing, like let's say he was going for like a left hand or a jab or something like that, Yoel was ready to parry them away. And just if you look at how many parries he had, you could just, that tells a lot about how good his reads are. And not only that, but his his Yoel was essentially the one dictating the range. When Luke would hit him with good leg kicks, he would eat it and be like, you know what, fuck you. I'm in that range too. Guess what, bitch? I'm firing off those leg kicks as well. So he would hit Luke with some leg kicks. And he checked a bunch of Luke's kicks too. So he did a turn check on it and actually cut Luke's shin with it. So and that was like early in the fight too. So he was good in reacting as well because he's checking the kick. You know what I mean? He's reading Luke is coming with it and then making the appropriate decision, blocking it, and in turn hurting Luke with it. You know what I mean? Because when your kick gets checked, that shit hurts. So Yoel did the damn thing, and just in that aspect, like those aspects alone, you know what I mean? From the parries to checking the kicks to when they were in the range, Yoel didn't wait to be in the range he wanted to be to attack. He attacked from whatever range the fight was in. So if the fight was in kickboxing range, then Yoel would go more for the low leg kicks and, like, you know, kind of close the range a little bit and then hit him with a leg kick and stuff like that. And then when it was in boxing range, he knew how to keep it in boxing range even when he's pressuring forward. You know what I mean? He didn't come in too much to where he was just staying in the pocket the whole time, or to the point where he closed the distance. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't where every time he came in, he ended up clinching, or every time he came in, there were some wild exchanges in the pockets. It's like when they're in boxing range, he's like, all right, we're in boxing range. I'm keeping it in boxing range. And as Yoel was like coming forward and like pressing forward, or even in the feel out in the boxing range, there was no I'm dipping into the pocket and then firing my shots and dipping back. He's like, no, I'm staying in the boxing range and firing my shit off from there. And I'm staying in boxing range, and when I'm really firing my shit off, like I'm coming forward with blitzes. Because if he's not coming forward with the blitzes, he's kind of just doing more range, like establishing range strikes. You know what I mean? So Yoel went out there and he proved to be super, super technical. And what I say by that, I mean, all right, so I actually take that statement back. Yoel wasn't super technical. He showed a really high fight IQ. And because it was technical, but it's more unorthodox. So, like, I mean, it's technically it's untechnical You know what I mean? The way he's firing those shots, those angles he's firing those shots off from, but the way he was, just how high his fight IQ was, and the way he was implementing his fight IQ and then using those shots, and it makes sense logically, and it was being super effective. So how can you call that not technical? You know what I mean? Although it's unorthodox, it was still effective. And when it comes to fight physics, it's sound. You know what I mean? So it makes sense. So it works. It works, and it works for Yoel. And it even kind of goes to, like, even kind of drawing a parallel to Dominic Cruz. A lot of the strikes that Dom throws isn't fundamentally sound, technically sound. You know, if Dom is going to be hitting you with like a 1-1-2, it's not going to look the same. You know what I mean? It's not going to be someone with their hands up and then jab, jab, right, straight right. With Dom, it's going to be like it's going to be a false start, and then kind of just closing the distance, and then you're going to get like a switch left, and then hit with like another left, and then a switch right, where the footwork is going to be switching up and coming into play, and it's going to be looking real different and real funky, for lack of any other better term to use. I don't want to use that, but it may look like unorthodox and funky, but it's still extremely technically sound. And even if you like maybe try to explain it and it doesn't necessarily work for someone else, it works for Dom. So the same thing, like Yoel maybe could, if he tries teaching that to somebody else, it's not gonna translate, and he might not be able to make a system out of it. But for Yoel, it works. Like in his repertoire, like have it like that system under his repertoire and under his toolbox, it works for him. So you can't say anything against it. And what I'm kind of noticing is Yoel is kind of becoming a little bit. I don't want to make a full comparison, like, because I don't think it'd be that good of a comparison, but I kind of see him making more of a kind of economical Overeem turn, because this performance, it wasn't like, you could kind of compare this performance to Overeem versus Dos Santos, because Dos Santos, if you remember Dos Santos Overeem, it was like nothing happened at all. Like nothing really happened through the fight. And then Overeem just knocked out JDS. So it's like, that's how, not to that horrible of an extent where it was so dry until it was a knockout, because this had a little bit more action than that. But Yoel was real smart, and that's really, really fucking dangerous, because now you have Yoel knowing how to utilize his explosiveness, and really, his shit is really random, and that's what helps him, because he doesn't even know when it's coming. So how's the opponent? But the thing is, now it's like he knows when to turn it on to that random mode, like shuffle on your iPod. He knows when to hit that switch to make it orange, to where he's just doing random explosive shit. but he knows when to keep it on a good playlist and like a nice steady thing. So we're seeing him, and we're seeing his fight knowledge and his execution of fight knowledge and his fight IQ grow very well, and him just knowing how to be the technically smarter guy. And he was the technically smarter guy, although Luke Rockhold in the first round might have fundamentally, and to a technical eye, like the way he was striking, it would have looked more like, all right, this guy's the more technical guy. But the way Yoel was operating in the fight, making those reads, doing the right thing in the ranges, doing the right things in every moment pretty much, showed. And that's another thing that kept Luke pretty hesitant and tentative too, because he was like, all right, I can't risk being too foolish and getting clipped because this guy's really explosive. So let me try to drag him out, and when he's tired, then I could do my thing. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm going to try to just drain all his energy, and then once he's like tired, then it's more of a leveled playing field, and then I'm going to go get my shit off. But that didn't happen, because Yoel, the adjustment he made was, regardless, I fine-tuned my shit so well and tweaked it so well that I know that I could threaten the knockout and have my moments where I could hurt you, or at any moment I could get that knockout. But now the difference is I could sustain for 5 rounds. So he's like, the adjustment he made in this fight was, you saw the same dangerous Yoel, but instead of it being the Yoel that could only be dangerous for 3 rounds, this Yoel was Yoel that could be dangerous for 5 rounds. You know what I mean? The pace he was going at. And I just, like, I when you look at Yoel Romero's fucking record, man, he really, my bad, I hit my pop filter. He really put in work in the division, man. Just off top, be thinking. He beat Luke Rockhold. The top 5, just running through the top 5, he beat most of the top 5, bro. He beat Luke Rockhold. He beat Jacare. He beat Chris. Even in the top 10, he beat Brunson. Looking at the top 15, he beat Machida. Like, he beat a lot of the guys that are good and established in the division and already, like, pretty heavy players. Pretty much any next Yoel Romero fight is a rematch. Unless you're matching him up with a scrub. Like, no, I shouldn't say that. Like, someone not up to his par, on par with him. Because I don't think anyone in the top 15 of any division is a scrub. But, like, when you look at the matchup Yoel had before Luke, Yoel was matched up with David Branch. So I think David Branch is like number 9 or something like that. Nah, like maybe he's like 8, something like that. I don't even know. But it's like something like 10, 9, 8, something like that. For him to be Yoel's matchup and that be a fresh matchup and stuff like that. Not much past fucking going to a Christoph Jocko or Paulo Borrachina. I think Yoel already beat Brad Tavares. I don't even remember, but just like going, now you have to go to the back end of the top 15 to get some fresh matchups for Yoel. And even then, you might end up he already beat some of those guys there. So Yoel has fucking done work in the middleweight division. I think he has like the most decorated fucking resume in the middleweight division when it comes to just strength of schedule, because his resume is stronger than Robert Whittaker's, and Whittaker has a strong resume. But the guys that are impressive, with the exception of Romero himself, because that's a big look on Whittaker's resume. With the exception of Romero, Whittaker beat Souza. Let's say, all right, so Whittaker had a more emphatic win over Souza. But he didn't face Luke. He didn't face Chris. He didn't face I'm not even trying to like tear down it and be like, oh, he didn't fight this guy or anything like that. But the real like kind of like, oh shit, Whittaker is on another level was when he knocked out Jacare. And when we're like, yeah, Whittaker is that guy in this division was when he beat Romero. So the fact that he has Romero on there says a lot. And I think because of how decorated Romero's resume is, having Yoel on your resume kind of it absolves that dopeness. You know what I mean? So like your resume is stronger than Yoel's because you have Yoel on there. And the reason it's stronger is because of how strong Yoel's resume is. Anyway, I'm getting kind of fucking abstract with this shit. But Yoel, and now we're queued up for the rematch. So we're getting Yoel versus Whittaker 2, maybe. Dana said we are, but we can't listen to anything what Dana says, really. Because we all know, like, we all know Dana and how he is. But anyway, so let's see, man. It kind of brings more clarity to the division. You know what I mean? Not clarity, but like this shit was like, all right, fuck. GSP just left. So Whittaker, the interim champ, just got promoted to champion. But now he can't fight. So now we're having an interim champ. Like, fuck, we just got rid of an interim champ. Now we're having another interim champ. It's like a shit you can't. It's like motherfucking herpes. It's like interim herpes. Like you can't get rid of interim belts. You're just gonna keep having outbreaks. But with Yoel winning, with Yoel missing weight and everything, and to touch on that and talk about Yoel missing weight. Listen, Yoel has never had any weight problem before. I don't really blame him that much because it's not like this is a thing with him that's an existing problem. Like throughout his whole career, he's been disciplined, and you could tell by his physique how disciplined he is, and that he's made weight every time. It's never been an issue. And granted it was a short camp, and at first when people say, oh, it's like a short notice fight and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, but he was getting ready for a fight, I thought at first. But then, like, when you think about it, all right, Yoel is such a big guy, and he's such a jacked guy. Maybe not a big, but like maybe the first portion of camp is more focused on getting his weight down, or maybe the last portion. However it works out, there must be like time, like a good percentage of the camp focused on getting your weight naturally down already, like losing weight before the weight cut. You know what I mean? Like naturally getting leaner and getting your weight down to cut less weight. So I'm sure he has that process. And another thing is with the different time zone and different scheduling, and depending on when he got in, because Australia is a long flight. I've been to Australia a few times, so that's definitely the longest flight of my life. My flight to Australia was like 26 hours or some shit like that. So just the flight there alone is a beast, and then getting acclimated with all your press obligations and all that. Just saying that it could throw a lot of shit off, that like maybe your metabolism and your system's not running right, where it's not that like he was not trying to cut weight. I think it was more of an issue that like the weight just wasn't coming off, regardless of how long he was staying in there. And that could be a problem sometimes. People go through that. So that I could excuse it, because I could understand. And if it was like if it really was like a regularly scheduled fight and he had that weight problem, then I was like, all right, that's another thing. But because it kind of might have fucked with his process with the time to get down to the weight, I don't blame it. And the fact that it was rough that he had a rougher weight cut, and he still came through and performed the way he performed, man. Like, honestly, bro, like Yoel is on some shit. Like and I don't mean like that, but I mean Yoel is like on some shit when it comes to being just like a crazy fighter. Like he's a unique ass guy. Like let's say that. Like there's not a fighter out there that fights like him. And the level of success he's had, like I think what was the guy's name? Rafael Feijão, I think. And I think it was in Strike Force, like Rafael Feijão in Strike Force. And this is off the top of my head, so I might be like off a little bit with the name. But he was a guy who beat Yoel in Strike Force. And it was, if my memory serves me right, I'm just coming off the cuff with this. The guy OSP fought on the Stevens versus Hendricks fight, I believe, a couple years ago. Yeah, so anyway, so that guy. And then I think after that OSP fight, he got cut from the UFC. So that was the last guy to have a win over Yoel Romero. So the fact that his only other loss comes from Robert Whittaker, and it was a close loss, says a lot. And I know people want to give Yoel shit for... I know Yoel has his sketchy moments, and I'm not denying that, and I'm not doubting that. And, his corner sometimes does some sketchy, questionable shit. But the thing is, the biggest kind of mark on his record is the whole Tim Kennedy fucking controversy. And what people want to talk about the stool, that he stayed on for 30 extra seconds, it helped him recover, but people don't want to talk about or address the fact that the only reason Yoel got clipped and got hurt was because Tim Kennedy pulled an illegal move where he dug his fingers into his glove and was holding Yoel's glove back, stopping him from being able to protect himself. So the illegal move is what gave Tim Kennedy the ability to even rock Yoel in the first place. So I think the controversy comes to Tim first. So that's how I feel about that. Although he does, his team, I don't deny that they do try sketchy shit though. Like, even when he fought Weidman, they were trying to like buy time and stuff like that. Like they do try to pull slick shit. I'm not denying that, but I'm not acknowledging that Tim Kennedy bullshit that much, because Tim Kennedy was the fucking scumbag in that fight. So that's how I feel about that on that. And Yeah, man. Yoel, bro. I feel like Yoel. Will we see Yoel have UFC gold in the future? Let's see how this Robert Whitaker fight works out. This rematch, if it happens. I feel like Robert Whitaker is a beast, and he definitely could win the rematch. Like, there's no doubt about it. But on the other hand, Yoel is so dangerous of a guy. There's no guarantee that he won't catch Robert this time. So, although we saw them go at it and saw Robert edge it out and come out on top, I don't know if that really plays into factor, has any effect into whatever would be the outcome in the next fight. Granted, the guys are more familiar with each other, and they got in there and got to like feel the punching power and the techniques and the strength and stuff like that. But I feel with the adjustments that Yoel showed, you see, and that shows a lot when it comes from Yoel and Luke. Although Yoel didn't take a loss in as devastating fashion as Luke did when it comes to the Bisping knockout, Yoel took a loss in a championship fight, and it happened to turn out that his next opportunity would have, if he didn't miss weight, it would have been another championship opportunity. What we saw from Yoel from the Whitaker fight to now was championship adjustments. He went, studied what he did wrong, saw a problem that could, a hole in his game that people could poke through and rip open, and he addressed it and changed his game accordingly, and changed his game so no one could rip that pinhole anymore and make it bigger. So he addressed that issue, and that was him only being able to be sustainable for 3 rounds. He addressed that issue and he fixed that issue, and that's coming from a fight like 6-7 months removed. You know what I mean? So we saw, like, in like 6 to 8 months, we'll say, from 6 to 8 months, we saw a major fundamental adjustment made to Yoel's game. And it was displayed against a high caliber opponent. Someone who would have been able to you know, he's skilled enough that he could have executed his game plan if he did the right things. He has that capability of. But we got to see Yoel make the adjustments, apply those adjustments, and come out being successful. So what that shows me is that Yoel's dangerous, because although that, like, the spontaneity of his style and with the randomness of it, it kind of, just with randomness being associated with not being planned, and you wouldn't really associate being random with being smart and being technical. But the thing is, the way Yoel does what he does, man, it's smart. He's actually smart with his fighting. Although it seems wild and kind of crazy, it's like a method to the madness. That's really a perfect way to describe Yoel's fighting style and his fighting IQ. He has a method to the madness. That's exactly it. I said it perfect. There's a method to Yoel's madness, and he's developing a good game and good systems which are tailor made and custom made for him. And him and his team is doing a good fucking job, because they're doing the right thing. And it just shows, like I said, man, by the adjustments being made, being applied, and coming out successful. Because the opponent, and here's what I want to say, like before, really, the opponent saw the hole from the last time, and their main game plan, their main thing they were kind of banking on, was to exploit that hole in the game. That was Luke's kind of whole plan, was I want to drag him into, he's only sustainable for 3 rounds. I want to bring him past that and then be able to have my way with it. But although Yoel would have been dangerous even in the championship rounds with the pace he was going, didn't even make it there. Because guess what? Although now he could sustain for 5 rounds, he's still just as explosive within 3 rounds. So you just have a guy that's now dangerous throughout the whole fight. With the way he was fighting then, last night, man. So, fuck, man. Like, I know Yoel doesn't have a strap, but that's like, the opponent says, it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't too... I don't know, like when they made the interim fight afterwards, I was like, yeah, like, all right, so like if Luke wins, then we're gonna get the fight that we're gonna get anyway, which is Whitaker Rockhold. And if Romero wins, we're gonna just get a rematch. And I was kind of thinking of it like kind of in the aspect of if Romero kind of gets like a decision, or it's like not that entertaining of a fight, and then that like cues up a rematch, and it's like, dude, like how exciting would that be? But then like the way I knew Yoel would need like a moment, and what I mean by that is when Yoel had the whole tainted supplement thing, and he got suspended, like he had the Jacare fight, and he was pretty much queued up next in line for the title shot, because Luke just beat Chris, and Luke won the title, and that same night Yoel beat Jacare, so it was kind of like a tournament almost. So the winner of that was gonna get the next title shot. So Yoel got Popeye USADA had that shit, got suspended, and then he came back. It was 6 months because of the tainted supplements. And when he came back, he knocked out Weidman. So that knockout, like that emphatic knockout, that like, oh shit moment, put him in the map. Like, yo, nah, like Yoel. And then, I see you soon, boy. I love you. Mike, you say like that to me? I say to you, I love you. I see you soon, boy. And it was like, oh shit. It was like hot diggity motherfucking damn. And he had that moment. Bitch Bing was running like a little ass bitch. So we never got to see that fight. And that fight should happen in December, and then we all know I'm not gonna get back into bitch been running and how he ran, but then we had Rockhold Romero, and we kind of have Yoel just constantly floating to the top of the division. So now, real quick, since I've been talking about it so long anyway, I kind of want to talk about what I'd like to see next. If they don't do the Whitaker rematch next exactly, I would like to see my man Chris Weidman get a rematch, try to avenge that loss, and you know, if Chris gets that back, that's definitely a big, pretty much direct alley-oop to the title. So, I definitely like to see Chris get back in that mix. I really think Chris is the only one you can put against Yoel at this point if it's not Whitaker. But honestly, logically, next really is the Whitaker Romero rematch. So that definitely that would absolutely have to be next for Yoelito. Yeah, man. So that's my breakdown on the main event. Oh, went way long. I did not think I was gonna have that much to say about the main event, but apparently I did. So I'm gonna be a little more short-winded about the other things and the other fights because I kind of want to touch on more things, but get right into the other shit. Curtis Blaydes versus Mark Hunt, man. Mark Hunt fucked Curtis Blaydes up, and Curtis Blaydes, I can't say got lucky, man, but he did what he had to do, and that's the only way I could say it. He literally did what he had to do to guarantee the victory, because I guess Mark Hunt knocked any confidence of him to be able to stand with Mark, and he just scared him. You know what I mean? He felt the power, and he's like, "Fuck, I can't even risk standing with Mark for a second." And I guess that's a testament to Mark Hunt's power. You know what I mean? Where he's like, "Shit, if I'm on my feet, if the soles of my feet are touching the ground, I'm gonna get knocked out." And Mark Hunt's downfall is being out wrestled. That's really how Brock Lesnar got a win over him after all that time off. So, and a lot of people, not a lot, but Mark has had that problem in the past of being out wrestled by opponents. So I feel for Mark, man. When he was clipping Curtis Blaydes up, I thought we were en route to another classic Mark Hunt walkaway knockout. And Curtis just had the right timing on that first takedown. And once he established it, it was just, that was that. And there's really not much you could do or say outside of that, because you can't get mad at Curtis Blaydes because he's doing what he needs to do to win, and you gotta feel for Mark Hunt because that's just got to be incredibly frustrating. So, and especially at this stage, man, and with just this stage with him in every aspect, his career, his relationship with the UFC. This is not what you want to happen. You don't want to lose to a guy. Man like, I'm going to say it in the Big Shaq voice. Man like Curtis Blaydes. Don't want to lose to a man like Curtis Blaydes. You don't want to lose to a man like Curtis Blaydes if you're Mark Hunt. You know what I mean? And especially in that way. It's not even a passing of the torch where you have the young bull come and knock out the OG. It's like it's not a Darren Till Cowboy. You know what I mean? Where this guy makes his name off the other guy. This is yeah, you could say you have a win over Mark Hunt, but you're probably your best bet is telling that to people that never watched that fight for you to get an impressive, to impress anybody, to be honest. You know what I mean? I don't even think it should reflect in the rankings that much. You know what I mean? Like a Josh Emmett coming in, sleeping Ricardo Lamas, and then being ranked number 3 or some shit. So I don't think this is something that should get Curtis Blaydes up there. I honestly think I don't know, man. I still think Mark Hunt should be ranked above him, but you know what? I don't want to see Curtis Blaydes go into the top 5. I'd rather see Curtis Blaydes like go up like one spot. The shitty thing is Mark Hunt would have to drop down underneath him. But you know what? Like it's just like Mark Hunt just loses leverage because if he has any renegotiations or anything like that, it just doesn't look good. You know what I mean? It's a fight that he had won, all but one. So that has to hurt even fucking more. It's not even that like he just got wrestled down the entire time. It's like you were like one fucking right move away from winning that fight in emphatic fashion. So that has to fucking blow for Mark, especially being at home. Yeah, man. So what else was there? What was the fucking? I'm trying to think of the fight before that, if that was any importance. But the guy I really want to talk about is Tai Tuivasa. Fuck, man. I think he's from Western Sydney. I saw him where he beat the other dude. What's his name? Rashad Coulter, something like that. When he beat the guy by the flying knee, and I was fucking with that guy heavy because he was like straight up fighting like EA UFC custom heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like my man's is double like flying knee and just coming with a real high pace. And honestly, man, I feel like Tai Tuivasa is the new guy in the heavyweight division. He's the new blood that we've been needing. He's that new generation of the heavyweight division. And it's crazy. I did not know he was as young as he was because he didn't look like it. Because I'm pretty sure he's my age. I'm pretty sure he's 24. So, I mean, like, I feel like he's the new Mark Hunt. He's like our generation's Mark Hunt. Like he definitely has that potential. I can't crown him with that yet, but I could definitely crown him with the potential of being the next Mark Hunt. And at the start of the podcast, when I was saying like the players in the division being like big in the future, like Tai Tuivasa is one of the main guys I have in mind when I'm saying that. Because he's got a good personality. He fucking chugged a brew out of a random guy's shoe. And, like, I don't know. They called it a shoey. I don't know if that's a Western Australian thing, mate. Or I don't know if that's only an Australian thing. But I would never fucking drink out of a shoe, mate. I'm not chugging beer out of a random guy's shoe. Like, if it's like, that's just gross, my man. Like, it's your fucking shoe, you know? But, like, that's just, like, on some other shit. But and honestly, I don't even think that is, I'm just fucking around. I don't think that's an Australian thing because I've been to Australia and I never really heard of that too much, like, at all. But, you know, I've definitely seen it around, even in America, like on some videos randomly. I think it's more of like a frat meathead mindset party thing. So, my man, like, you should have just brought a beer bong with you or something, you know, just not this fucking shoe. But anyway, man, you should have just, like, shotgunned a beer, man. Like out the can. Don't know why. Anyway, I'm talking about this shit. But yeah, man, straight coming off of a destruction of Cyril Asker, dude, doing the damn motherfucking thing, bruv. Like he was so smart with the way he was attacking. Because he wasn't pressuring too much. He wasn't he wasn't overextending or rushing anything. He kept his range, kept his composure, and kept good distance, was like stalking the right way, level changed, was going to the body, hitting him with them elbows, them bows. So he was real smart with it and was like just picking him apart. And he's a monster. Tai Tuivasa, man. Bam Bam. I fuck with him, man. He's a guy. I fuck with. I see him being. I'm making this declarative statement now. When I first started my channel, I made this statement about Derek Lewis before Derek Lewis popped off. This is like when Derek Lewis was outside the top 15. Like, no one was really fucking with him. He was like on the come up. I think it was like after his Gonzaga fight or something like that. I said, Derek Lewis, he's got the knockout power. He's got that, that crazy kind of power. And I didn't even know about his personality that much that time. But I saw a few of his fights before that, and I saw him just straight sleeping people. I'm like, this guy is going to be a big player in the heavyweight division. And he's going to... The video's up there. It was that JDS Ben Rothwell recap. I said he's going to be a big player in the division, and I see him getting into definitely the top 10 and getting into, approaching the top 5, and depending on how he does, maybe approaching that title shot, but definitely being one of those top 10 players. And I was right about Derek Lewis, and I feel I'm putting that out there about Tai Tuivasa, man. I'm saying he's going to be by next year, depending on how active he is, man, I feel like guaranteed within 2 years, in the next 2 years, he's going to be a major player in the heavyweight division, top 10, top 5 guy. I think if he's active, if Tai Tuivasa is active, I'm saying in a year and a half, if Tai Tuivasa is active in a year and a half, I'm seeing him he's going to be up, kind of in those talks about fighting the upper echelon of the heavyweight divisions, like the Canes, and if they're around anymore, the Verdum, Alistairs, and stuff like that. In a year and a half, I see him reaching that point where he's knocking on the door to fight those guys. So, yeah, I definitely see him being a top 10 guy in the, not immediate future, but the pretty near future. The mid-range, near distant future. Soon enough, we'll say that, man. Tai Tuivasa, shout out him, man. I fuck with him. His personality seems like a chill guy. Seems like a funny guy, man. Seems real laid back in the cut. A guy I wouldn't mind kicking it with, just drinking some brews with and just chopping it up and talking some MMA. Seems like a cool guy to do that with. So, Tai Tuivasa, someone who's on my radar in a big way. I'm giving him what I'm going to call the Mastermind Derek Lewis Award, where, he's a big prospect. Another big prospect in the light heavyweight division, I believe, Tyson Pedro. Yeah, he's definitely a light heavyweight, right? Let me look that up before I'm wrong. And then I go off on what I'm about to say, and it makes no sense whatsoever. So, let me tell you right now. Yeah, I'm right. So, yeah, Tyson Pedro is a light heavyweight. Man, I see him, another guy, a major player in that division soon enough. I see it actually happening sooner than actually, I'm not going to say that. I was gonna say maybe it could happen sooner than Tai, but I'm not gonna say that. And the reason I was gonna say that is because of how shallow the light heavyweight division is. But I mean, if he has any problems, like if he gets to like a Jimmy Manuwa and then loses to a Manuwa, or if he gets to Corey Anderson and loses to Corey Anderson, that could be a problem. But I feel like that's honestly like the next stage for him is like your introduction to your mid top 10 guys, like, you know, like your number 7 ranks in the world. Dude, he's definitely ready for your Misha Serkinovs, your Jan Blachowicz, just those guys of the division, you know, kind of the bottom of the top would be a good way of saying it. You know, the lower tier of the top 10. Just give him one of those guys and a big performance over that. You're going to have these guys, with John Jones out, you're going to have a lot of these guys being fast-tracked to Cormier. Or at least getting fast-tracked to either Glover or Gus. If they're even going to go that way. Because I'm not sure if they're even going to risk killing a contender through Gus or Glover. Or they're just going to send them right on to Cormier. Like how they did, what's his face? I shouldn't call him what's his face. Volkan Oezdemir. You know what I mean? I feel like Tyson Pedro, he definitely, with the shallowness of that division, he could definitely get up if he's active and, you know, he keeps winning and has good performances like he had. You know, I actually see him getting there faster if he performs like he performed last night. You know, if he's having these vicious submissions and finishes against like Misha Serkinov or Jimmy Manuwa, I feel like that might fast track him to DC when DC comes back. Because I don't know what's good with John or anything like that, and you know, it's kind of crazy that I'm already talking about his shot to the title, but you know, if all goes well, there's really, he realistically, man, could get to a title shot within 3 to 4 fights. And that's like 4 is stretching it. I feel like at this rate that he, like in that division, like right now, he could get to a title shot in 3 fights. I'm telling you. Because if you think about it, he gets a guy like a Jan Blachowicz, then gets like a OSP Manuwa, and then after that, he is either already going to earn that title shot, or they'll really test his mettle if they want to against a 1 or 2 rank guy. But after that, man, he has a pretty clear cut road to the title. And thinking about it, Tai Tuivasa he isn't that far from a title shot either. And when you're thinking of, you know, like new blood being inserted, I could see Tai Tuivasa getting to a title shot in under 5 fights. Easy. 5 fights long. I could see, and this is assuming all goes well. I could see Tai. Think about it. You introduce him to the top 15. Give him, like, you know, whoever, like Alexei Olenek or one of those kind of guys. Then you give him a hard hitter, give him someone to, you know, like a Derek Lewis or something like that, and then that's already, you're in the mid upper echelon. So you're already basically there. It kind of takes when you have that following and you kind of have that personality and you're having those performances, it's like a boom, a top 15 guy, inside the top 10, and then you could either go top 5 guy, then title shot, or once you hit the inside the top 10, you can get it off it. Look at Cody Garbrandt. You know what I mean? They they gave Cody. They just gave him, all right, we'll give you the shot. Get inside the top 10. They got him inside the top 10 with Thomas Almeida. And like a namesake, all right, just kind of take out Takeya Mizugaki. And you know, that's the top 15 guys. Like, pretty much, all right, we want to expose you in the sense of give you exposure in marketing. So we're just we're gonna put you as the FS1 main event for the Conor McGregor Nate Diaz card, and give you a real easy guy, so you could showcase you. We'll showcase you. That's what they did, and then it worked out, at least for him to get the belt. So yeah, man, that new blood, like especially in those kind of shout divisions, is not that hard to get to. Jake Matthews versus Eye Gouger. I'm not even gonna look up his name, man, because that shit was just blatant. I don't respect that guy. I don't like that guy. It just shows he's a dirty fighter, because he was doing dirty techniques. He was digging into the gloves before, and he was, gouging the eyes. And it just showed, like, when he was in trouble, he didn't really do anything technical to save himself. He just played dirty. And I don't know what kind of background he's coming from, like fighting background, or the culture of the camps, or the culture of fighting wherever he's coming from. But I mean, or he's just a scumbag. I don't know if it's just like a shady fight culture, or he is just personally the only, like, he's just a scumbag in general. So he's gonna do scumbag shit. So I don't know if that's the case or it's not the case. But I feel like, Jake Matthews, he was the lightweight. Now he got a lot bigger, moved up to welterweight. He did good, man, but he had a lot of times where he really should have really got rid of the guy. And, minus the submission, because the cheap shit, it basically should have been over from there. But the times he had him rocked, I think he's got to work more on his finishing ability. He has a lot of potential. Again, another really young guy. He's got a lot of potential, but the thing is, he's got to just work on just that killer instinct, on how not to just, oh fuck, he's hurt, pounce, get on him, and just rush in, but to be more like a composed, calculated killer. And I feel like that'll come with experience. And he's already pretty experienced for a young age, but that maturity will come in as he has more fights in the UFC. Or they need to address that in training, because it's not just going to come with time. They need to address that. So, yeah, just just polish some things, refine some things. And Jake Matthews has got a lot of potential. So yeah, like yeah, and with the whole thing with like him not caring about it that much, I guess like he's happy he won, but I mean, I could kind of see why he's not gonna make a big deal out of it, because it could come off a certain type of way, but they should definitely do something about, even if it comes into the hands of the UFC, just like not giving that guy any exposure anymore, like, or at least for a while, just put him on shitty cards and kind of give him the the DJ Amanda Nunes treatment, where Dana was at odds at them, so he made 215, or not 215. Was it 215? I don't even remember. Whatever. I think it was 215. Whatever that card was that DJ Ray Borg and Amanda Shevchenko was supposed to be on. Anyway, man. Yeah, bro. I think that's about it, man. Like, for the recap. Let me think. Let me look back. Yeah. Yeah, I think, man, that's about all I want to talk about on that main card and break down, because I was pretty long winded and went in depth about Yoel and Luke. So yeah, I am going to have this uploaded and ready to go. And after that, I am going to be recording a podcast episode, the Mastermind MMA podcast. I will have some more videos coming. I don't know what else is going on, but I definitely got to get a podcast episode out. And yeah, I'm probably going to record that tomorrow. And yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about Yoel and Luke and the fight, and how you thought about shit played out, what's going to happen in the future. Anything else you guys want to talk about, like Curtis Blaydes, and like how, if that pissed you off, and how annoying that was, and that kid scumbag shit against Jake Matthews, and yeah, everything else, man. I appreciate you guys listening as always, and you already know it's Mastermind MMA.